Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm too close to the camera. Let me just adjust this thing. Is that better, guys? My head's being chopped off here, but I find should be okay. I'm trying to get a little bit more of me in the shot. Let me just go a little bit lower. A little bit more of me and the guitar in the shot. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I think the sound should be good. Not too loud, hopefully. Glad to see everybody here this Sunday. See that everybody's up bright and early again. So I'm getting you guys accustomed to getting up early, I guess, on Sunday. Honestly, guys, today was actually hard for me. I was a little bit. I wanted to sleep in and rest, but you know, I'm dedicated to putting on these shows for you guys, and I wanted to be here. And I honestly look forward to doing all this stuff. So I don't mind getting up a little bit earlier on Sunday so that we can do this on a regular basis. Hope everybody's doing well. I see a lot of people already here, which is fantastic. So, good morning to everyone. Hope everybody's having a good Sunday so far, a good weekend so far. So, this is live show number 31. 31. And as usual, I'm offering a 15% discount on the merch. So if you want to grab any of the merch during the live events, is a perfect time to save yourself a couple of bucks. I'm giving a 15% discount. If you want the merch, you use the code ATG, Addicted to Gear 31 for show 31. And you can grab anything you want with a 15% discount. It helps the show, it helps the channel, and I really do appreciate it. I know a lot of you already have picked up some nice stuff, including t-shirts and other things. So pretty awesome. I appreciate that. So as you can see today, I took out my Tokai. This is a Tokai Love Rock Black Beauty, and I haven't actually taken out this guitar in a long time because I do have a couple of other Les Paul style guitars that I've shown you on my channel. And so I figured I probably bring this with me tonight because I have a jam session tonight with the boys. And why not take the Black Beauty, you know? It's actually a very nice guitar because it's not really heavy. And the original Les Paul Black Beauties that I've tried, they definitely were very, very heavy. The guitarist that plays in my band with me has one, an original Gibson Black Beauty, and it's a real heavy guitar. I tried it once, and it's a beautiful guitar, wonderful sound to it, but it's just very, very heavy. And honestly, after playing a couple of hours standing up, my back starts to hurt. So I tend to try and gravitate towards guitars that are a little bit lighter. And honestly, this one looks really cool. I like the black and the white. It looks like a tuxedo. I'm not a huge fan of the gold hardware on these guitars, but you know that's what they come with. That's the look. And as you can see, like this guitar is not new. I didn't buy it new. It's a Japanese Tokai. So it's been used, and you can see like the gold patina here is already like starting to wear off a little bit, you know? And so these are things that you have to be aware of when you're playing any kind of guitar that has gold hardware. This is why I don't really like gold because it kind of like wears off over time, and you have to expect that. The tuners also are gold. They look like Godo tuners to me, but they're not stamped Godo on the back of it. So, um, but the tuners do say made in Japan on there. We have the stamped in serial number here, and it's really a great guitar. The thing that I like about this guitar also is that you can get the action really low. No buzzing, no fret buzz. So I like that about the guitar a lot. The only modifications I made on this guitar, there wasn't much, and I'm sure you guys are gonna guess the pickups. And I did a video on that as well, so if you want to check it out. So even up here, you can bend like all the way, and you don't get fret out, which is really cool. And I didn't really adjust the guitar. I didn't have to adjust the guitar for the playability. The action is pretty low, actually maybe even lower than it should be, because I tend to hit strum pretty hard. But it plays really well. Like most Gibson style guitars, the tuning stability is okay. Probably better than my Les Pauls, actually, the original Les Pauls. The nut on this guitar doesn't look like it was changed. It looks like it's original, and it's a bone nut. Because usually you can tell when it's been changed, and I don't think it has. And really looks really nice. I mean, even, you know, the same type of truss rod cover, like the bell type, the inlays, kind of the same appointments as a Gibson. So basically, you know, if you hide the headstock, if you don't show the headstock, people might mistakenly think this is a Gibson, but it isn't. And it doesn't have the bolt-on necks like some of the cheaper copies that they were, the lawsuit Gibsons that they were coming out with. And look, I mean, even the back of it, there's no, I don't know if you can see this here, there's like practically no scratches in the back, just very, very, very light. So overall, the guitar is really in mint condition, and I like it a lot. So that's why I broke it out today. I figured I would play this one. Today and see how it goes in a live situation. So the pickups that I put into this guitar, which I have a video for, like I said, you can actually go and check that out. I removed the stock pickups, and I put in a set of Iron Gear. These are Tesla Sharks, which are supposed to emulate the pickups that Slash has in his guitar. I don't know how accurate those are, but I can tell you they sound very good. Actually, I was going bananas the other day, and I get like a little bit OCD about pickups. You guys probably already know about this. They're just like, it's one of those things where I can't leave pickups alone. So basically what I was doing yesterday, I was trying to figure out, I have another Gibson Les Paul that I wanted to change the pickups on. And so the issue is always the neck pickup for me, because the bridge pickups I can live, you know, with bridge pickups. I'm not that crazy, you know, I'm not that finicky about them. Most of them sound pretty good, but it's the neck. I don't like the muddiness or the woofiness of some of the bridge pickups. That they just tend to be that way for some reason. So again, I wanted to change the bridge pickup in one of my other Les Pauls, and I didn't know quite which one to go with. So I took out all of my Gibson style guitars, including this one, and I A-B'd them until I can figure out which one I would want to go with. And honestly, this one is not bad for like a budget guitar. The Tesla Sharks actually sound pretty good. So if I wanted to go with something a little bit more budget friendly, I'd probably get a Tesla Shark, but not in gold. But honestly, I tried all of my Les Pauls, and the one that came out as the clear winner for me was actually the PAF style pickups that are wound by Matt Gleason from Monty's Guitar in London. He made a set for my Les Paul, one of my Les Pauls, and it just blew my socks off, and specifically the neck pickup in that guitar because it cuts through the mix so well, and it has a really nice kind of hollow sound to it. I can't really describe it, but it's just like it has these wonderful overtones, and none of my other pickups have that. And specifically the neck pickup, I think I'm going to order a set. Well, not a set actually. I think I'm only going to order the neck pickup because in that guitar I have a Pariah pickup in the bridge position that sounds really nice as well, really full sounding. And the Pariah in the neck and the bridge with the PAF from Monty's guitar in the neck position would make a killer set, I think. So I'm going to talk to Matt about maybe if he can wind me another one and send it over to me. He makes some really nice pickups. If you haven't already checked him out, he's getting a lot of he's making a lot of headway with his pickups and his services. And if you haven't checked him out, check it out. It's Monty's Guitar in London. There's another website also called Monty's Guitars, which is not the same, so don't mix them up. It's actually, he's in London, and his name is Matt Gleason. I'm going to try and have him back on my show at one point because he's a really nice guy and he really has a lot of knowledge for such a young fellow, actually. So let's say hi to some people that are here today. I'm ignoring everybody, just talking. I just want to say hi. So good morning, everybody. Hi, Jack, Alan, Paul, Christian, Bruce, Wayne, Victor, Strat 5150, The Nye, Jack Collins, Bud is here, Cool Tunes Made Easy, Richard is here. Nice to see everyone here. If I skipped over anybody, my apologies, but really, really nice to see everybody in the house here, and I hope everybody's doing really, really well. I also, I think there's a lot of people from the States that watch my show. If you are from the States, give me a thumbs up. I just want to know how many people are north of the border, south of the border. Actually, the border is still closed, unfortunately. Canada is not letting any of the Americans in, unfortunately. But I mean, I guess it's something that needs to be done until things are under control. We're starting to get kind of over the hump, sort of. We're getting down. Things are going down in terms of numbers for us here in Canada. Unfortunately, they've decided to open up bars just a couple of, like a week or two ago, which was a terrible idea. That's probably the worst idea they've ever come up with because, you mix alcohol with people in a crowd that are out, that are basically let loose to mingle after so many months of being cooped up. What do you think is going to happen? So basically, what ended up happening is that obviously some people spread the virus, infected other people, and the government, instead of shutting down the bars again, just gave them a warning, slap on the wrist, and said, "Look, don't let it happen again, because if you let it happen again, we're shutting you down." Which I think it's dumb. I think it's just a matter of time before it happens again, And I don't know why they have to put people's health at risk for drinking, for socializing. I mean, honestly, the liquor stores are open here. If you want to drink, just go buy your liquor, invite your friends over to your backyard, stay 6 feet apart, and have fun. It's a lot safer than going out in public, I think. So yeah, unfortunately, travel to the States is not going to be happening. And it's a shame because if things were under control, obviously we all would like to travel a little bit more. But until we can get things under control, I think it's going to have to stay that way. So so we got people from all over. We got Americans. We got somebody from Japan, Hiroshima, Fat Philosopher, New York City. Who else? Louisiana, UK. So Alan says the pubs in the UK have opened, big mistake. Yeah, it's going to be the same situation over there, I'm sure, Alan, unfortunately, man. Um, I think the government's testing the waters with us. We're kind of like the lab rats of this experiment, and they're kind of like trying different things just to see how people and how the virus will react. But I mean, honestly, it's a no-brainer. Don't mix alcohol with anything related to public safety. When people start drinking, the common sense goes out the window, and you can't rely on people that have alcohol in them to make the right decisions, and it's a recipe for disaster. The government should know better. Shame on them for putting us at risk. It's really stupid. But anyway, so I mentioned the 15% discount code. So ATG31, grab something at from our swag store at a 15% discount if you're interested. The code will be active for a couple of days only, so ATG31. Today's show is sponsored by Surub. They sent me this cab. They call it a cab tuner. I don't know why they call it a cab tuner, but it's the WST675 tuner, which I thought I would unbox in front of you and see what it's all about. This tuner apparently could tune guitar, bass, ukulele, baritone. Let's have a look at it and see what it can do. And I appreciate all of my sponsors for helping me out with my channel and sending me some interesting products. Tuners are great because you can never have too many. I have another one that's kind of starting to die on me now, so I was gonna actually pick up something new. Maybe this one will do the job. So it looks a lot like some of the other tuners that you might have seen. It has a nice arm that flexes, turns, you can turn it around and it flexes. It has like a clip to hold on with a little rubbery kind of piece there. The actual display is pretty big. Let's turn it on, see how bright it is. See if it actually goes on. There we go. So I don't know if you can see that. Pretty nice. Let's tune up the guitar. It might not be. I'll turn it on. I'll turn it this way so you can see it. Hopefully you can see it. Can you see that? Let's see how well it works without getting too much. Well, you can see it, but I'm tuning backwards, so pretty fast response. I had already tuned before starting the show, so let's see how long. So let's say if I do this, and it actually responds pretty fast, and it stays up there. So G, let's do an A. A. Yeah, it's pretty accurate and fast. C. Nice. F. Yeah, it works well. If I do a chord, does it recognize the chords? Yeah, recognizes the chords too, so I like it. So this is probably not a very expensive tuner. And you can also adjust the pitch on it. So it's set to 440, but I think you can actually set that to whatever you want. So if you want to do alternate tunings, as long as you know what the frequency is, you can actually set the frequency on that as well. So a big thank you. I'm just going to turn this off so the battery doesn't die out on me, because that's what usually ends up happening. So again, a big thank you to Surub. That is the tuner. So if you guys are interested in grabbing a tuner that works well and is not too expensive, you can grab that one. And excuse me. So today we're going to try and keep the show to about an hour. I tend to go a little bit long on most of my shows, but I want to keep some of the discussions for later events as well. So let's see if there's any questions happening so far. I know you guys have already started to talk about different things here without me. So let me just scroll back a couple of comments and see. So Christopher Thomas, Tony, don't you like a bridge pickup that sounds good with high gain? That's how I judge all my guitars. The neck doesn't really matter to me. I usually use a 59. Well, Christopher, the way I like to set up my pickups, and because I'm more specifically bothered by the neck pickup sound, I want to get a good neck pickup. That's usually the challenge. What I do is I usually dial in the neck pickup height first, and then based on what I like there, I'll adjust the bridge pickup accordingly so that they play well together. Neck super important to me, guys. I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things. When I go back to the neck pickup and it's really muddy and woofy and overly bassy, especially in a live situation, I don't really like that type of sound. I like to be able to play leads and use the neck pickup if I want to and not be like too boomy. And so I tend to like pickups that are a little bit brighter and maybe a little thinner sounding on the neck, because the neck inherently is, just by the position on the guitar, tends to be a little bit more bass heavy. So if the pickup is a little bit thinner sounding, and often I notice that I do like pickups that are also not wax potted, because they do tend to have more harmonic overtones than a wax potted pickup. So I tend to like that sound better. And that's what I'm after. And it's really hard because it's hard to hear those frequencies from a video, especially if they're playing with background music and whatnot. You have to really pay attention. And sometimes they just don't, it doesn't come through. And you end up buying a set of pickups just to regret the sound of the neck pickup. So I hope that answers your question there. Ed says, I still want a Les Paul style guitar, but I'm on a real tight budget. What would be a recommended LP style guitar or brand that is great value and very affordable, below 400 or 500 bucks? Under 4 or 5, I guess. Okay, $400 or $500 US. Obviously, I mean, I tend to the first thing that pops into my mind is Harley Benton. And I don't want to be a Harley Benton fanboy, but they do have some really decent electric guitars in the style of the Les Pauls. Obviously, you can also get yourself an Epiphone used. Those are decent as well. Another company that I like a lot is the Vintage brand that I have. I have a 335 Vintage guitar, but they also have some nice Les Paul style guitars as well. And I've played a few, and they're built well and they sound pretty good as well. Beyond that, I mean, I think a lot of companies offer Les Paul style guitars. It's really a question of finding which one sounds the best to you. But the vintage stuff plays really well. The Tokais are really nice, but if you want cheap, you have to go with the Korean-made Tokais, which are a little bit hit and miss. The Japanese ones are great though. But I would just go with used. You can get some really good deals used. What other questions here? So as I was talking about this guitar in specifically, the reason also thinking about this Black Beauty, I actually read an article that Jimmy Page's Black Beauty was finally returned. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but it's been in the news lately that Jimmy Page had a Black Beauty with 3 pickups, 3 pickup version, and it was stolen from him. I think at an airport or something. Early on, I think he was still probably playing with Yardbirds or something like that. and it went missing. Somebody took off with the guitar, and it's been missing till today. And I think 40 years later, they finally found the guitar and they returned it to him, and they actually confirmed that it was his guitar because he had done modifications to it for some switches and whatnot. And this, although those switches and the electronics had been removed from the guitar, the holes and were still there, and he definitely identified that guitar as being his. And it was returned to him. A buddy of his who was a classic dealer of electric guitars, had promised him that he was eventually going to find his guitar. And Jimmy Page eventually started also visiting classic guitar shops and stuff to see if he would ever come across his guitar, which he never did. But his buddy actually ended up finding it, and apparently returned it to him. And Jimmy Page had even put up a reward when it went missing originally. He wanted to basically pay for the return of the guitar, the safe return of the guitar, no questions asked. And nobody stepped forward. And then 40 years later, it finally came back to him. And apparently he was really excited to have it back. I never actually saw Jimmy Page play that guitar ever. I haven't seen any images of him with that guitar. There must be some floating around the internet. But for me, whenever I think of Jimmy Page, I always think of his classic Les Paul, not the Black Beauty style with the 3 pickups. But apparently he liked that guitar a lot because he went out of his way to try and get it back. And I'm glad he did. I think he's one happy man. I wonder how much that guitar is going to sell for when it actually goes on the auction block. So tonight I'm going to be working on this guitar. I should plug these in, but I'm going to blow out the microphone. Let's look at some other questions here. Okay, let's scroll back. Richard says it's 7 a.m. for him. Well, thank you for getting up that early, Richard. I really do appreciate it. I hope I don't blow your energy level for the rest of the day. Jack says everything is good. I appreciate you letting me know that everything's good in your neck of the woods, Jack. We have a Canadian here. The Nye is from southern Alberta. Wonders of the internet make it a small world. Yeah, absolutely. So let's look at some of the questions here. So guitar-related questions. Thank you, Paul, for asking everyone to click the thumbs up. Thank you for that. Tim is in the house as well. Hey, Tim, nice to see you. Alan says gold and black guitars look stunning provided you don't play them. But you know what? I don't mind. Like if the guitar gets used up, it's part of the beauty of the guitar. As the guitar ages, in my opinion, the marks and things that you find on the guitar, little dings and scratches and stuff, it makes the guitar look more authentic and loved, and I like it a lot. And this one, like my other guitar, the other Tokai that I showed you, the saddle here also has the same type of what do you call that? The screws that go into the body go directly into the body, and they don't. This guy here, that doesn't have a retaining cup. It goes right into the body. There's a special name for that. Those of you who are a little bit up to speed with the terminology might be able to tell me what that's called. But people claim that has better sustain or something. I can't really speak to whether or not you're going to hear a difference, but it's just I wanted to point out that's that style of guitar. Paul said that he had an original Les Paul custom in '68 and it was killer heavy. Yeah, the nickname for those guitars are boat anchors. Bruce says it's called relicking, not wear. I don't know if it's called relicking. To me, relicking is if when you go out of your way to actually put the scratches and the dents into the guitar. But for me, wear is wear. It's just the natural aging process. Christopher says, good morning, Tony. Nice guitar. Thank you very much. We have Al Dublin 2 from the Netherlands. Hi, Al. How's it going? How are things in the Netherlands, buddy? Need to save up to buy that Lefty Tokai in the local pawn shop. Fat Philosopher's been eyeing that Tokai for a long time. Now, is that a want or a need? He says he blew his monthly play money on 2 pedals. Actually, I did a big house cleaning on my pedals just recently. I actually got rid of a whole bunch of them. A big bag full. I think there was like 10 or something in all. I just decided to, a lot of the lower budget pedals that I had accumulated over time that I wasn't actually using, like the Joyos and the Donners and, you know, these sort of like $40, $50 pedals that I wasn't actually using. They were just gathering dust here, so I decided to put them up for sale. Got a good offer, decided to sell them, and I'm glad I did. It just like opens up a little bit more cash or play money, like we like to refer to it, for other things, and we'll see what else we'll bring in. But I've been eyeing a couple of other things too that I eventually will end up flipping, just because I need to have more room. And one of the things I really need, you guys, is guitar stands. I'm actually putting guitars on the floor now because I don't have any guitar stands left over. I have a rack here that can hold 5, and I have a couple other individual guitar stands, but sometimes I end up playing other guitars. I have this acoustic right here by my side, and you know, I need to get some more stands. I just need to make more room. I really like the multi-stand that holds 5 guitars because it's really convenient. It doesn't take all that much room, but I'm running out of room in this small studio, so I need to be space efficient. So I don't know. I got to figure something out. I don't like to put the wall hangers because I don't know. I just don't like to see guitars on the wall for whatever reason. It doesn't seem safe. I prefer to keep my guitars in the cases, but the ones that are in the room are just the ones that I play regularly, and I'll often swap them out depending on which ones I'm playing, and put the rest in the cases and put them away. I actually bought, and I think it's a good suggestion. I'm going to give you guys a tip. If you go down to your local your local Costco or whatever you guys have in the States. I don't know if you, I guess you have Costco in the States also. They have these stainless steel racks that are kind of like racks that you would find in your pantry. They're pretty wide, and there's like five levels. They're made of stainless steel, and you can actually, they have wheels, you can roll them around. I don't know if you know which ones I'm talking about. Those are perfect sizes for putting your guitars on them. And what I do is I put my guitars in my cases, then I put them on these racks just in case there's ever like water damage or anything like that, a flood or something. They're off the ground, and I don't have to worry about them getting damaged until they get to like, you know, 1.5 feet of water. And hopefully at that point, you know, you have enough time to get them out if you need to. But you need to have room to store those as well. Okay, Tony, the tuners are Goto. The OEM tuners from Goto are priced very competitively. Yeah, that's what I figured. I mean, they look like Goto to me, except they're not stamped. So I guess they are the OEM version. They hold tuning very well. Strat 5150 said he was just looking at an Eastman SB59. I haven't had the opportunity to try Eastman guitars. I haven't seen that many here locally. I've seen them online plenty, and they look really nice, except I haven't had a chance to play them for myself, so I don't really know how they feel, but they look really nice. Good morning, Ed. Nice to see you, buddy. My first guitar was a Tokai. I sadly sold it years ago. Big mistake. Alan, I agree, man. If it was a Japanese Tokai, you should have kept it. The prices went up considerably. I'm looking at the prices now on Reverb and eBay for these things, and you used to be able to grab them from anywhere. Like the Japanese ones, I've seen Japanese ones in the past for like 800. Now those days are long gone. They're all over $1,000, 1,500 and more. Wayne says, "Nice little Tokai, Tony. Sure has big blocky white inlays compared to my Sweet Wolf LP." Yeah, the inlays on these are I don't think these are mother of pearl, because mother of pearl are a little bit darker. They have more like different variations in color. So these are like probably just like mother of toilet bowl cover. But I don't really care because they don't affect the tone or anything. But they're cut really nice. There's no like gaps in between at all. And the funny thing is, even the binding on the side have the little nubs on them, like the original, like the Les Paul has. They haven't cut corners on these ones. On the Korean, I think they don't put those nubs. They don't bother. Fat Philosopher says, "I think I'll stay away from a new guitar until my custom is finished." And Bruce says, "PRS are great guitars. I hope you can win. You can win one." SE semi-hollow is tempting, but would be more tempting if they knocked another $300 off the price. Yeah, the SEs have also been going up in price. They were normally around $800. Now they're 1,000. So yeah, those are going up as well. It's a shame, but I guess you can still find them used. The nice thing about the SEs is that the new models don't have that big ugly SE block writing in on the headstock. They actually have the Paul Reed Smith script writing, which I like a lot better. I think that was a good choice. But the quality on the guitar, the workmanship on the SEs are great. I wouldn't hesitate to get one. Speaking of custom guitars, I know a lot of you have asked me about how the 335 that I was building from the kit that I also made a video of a while back is coming along. I actually had a setback with that guitar just this weekend. A real shame, but I'm gonna give you guys a tip because I learned this the hard way now. And I knew it. I kind of had it in the back of my mind. I said to myself, I'm doing something. I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing. I should be careful. But I figured it wouldn't really be a big issue, but it ended up it was. So I sprayed the guitar many times, and when I'm spraying the guitar, because it doesn't have a side inlay, I have to cover the side of the rosewood board. So I didn't want the rosewood to be sprayed all the way through. So I covered it with some masking tape, and I covered up the front of the fretboard in tape as well, so I can spray the entire rest of the body without necessarily having to worry about getting overspray on the neck. So when I peeled off the tape, I noticed that I was just a little bit of hair off the rosewood. And I'm very anal about these things, and it bothered me to have like a lighter line right there. So I did a little touch up and to hide that, and resprayed it to be able to have the entire neck, lacquered the way it should be, so it wouldn't show. And it turned out really well. But for me to do that, I had already buffed the body to a gloss. I already had done the wet sanding on the body, what you need to do. And if you guys have worked on guitars, especially guitar finishes, you know how long it takes to get that mirror buffed shine. So I did all of the grits on the sandpaper, starting from I think 600, 800, 1000, 1200, so on and so forth, on all of the grits with wet sanding, and then I buffed it with cutting compound and a buffing wheel, and it had a beautiful mirror gloss. So I didn't want to spray that. I don't want to spray the body. I just wanted to touch up the side of the neck. So I decided to cover up the body. And at first I was going to use paper, but sometimes paper rips and there's little holes and stuff, and the spray will get in there. So I said maybe a better idea would be to use saran wrap. So I basically used saran wrap on the body to make sort of an airproof seal, and I just went on to spray the neck. The problem is, and I knew this because I had experienced this in the past, and I just thought that maybe the saran wrap wouldn't have the same effect. But whenever you're dealing with lacquer, anything made of an oil product like rubber will affect the lacquer. So if you're taking a guitar that has nitro lacquer and you put it on a guitar stand, and the guitar stand has rubber parts on it, it's going to actually melt away the finish, and it's going to leave a mark. And lo and behold, to my horror and disappointment, when I pulled off the saran wrap, it had left a whole bunch of marks on the finish. And so then I tried to buff it out. It wasn't buffing out. I tried to wet sand it out again, and I didn't want to wet sand it too much because I felt it was going to go through the finish. And then I definitely don't want to have spots where I burn through the lacquer. So I decided to respray it again in lacquer, a few more coats, and I'll have to sand it and buff it again. So chalk that one up to experience, guys. If you guys have a project that you're working on and you're working with lacquer, then be aware that lacquer and rubber they're not compatible, they're not friendly. Okay. On the other hand, if you're using polyurethane, you won't have that problem. So in many instances, polyurethane is a better finish because it dries hard and it's thicker. It doesn't scratch as easy than nitro does or lacquer does. The only thing is that I was going, with that guitar project, I'm going for kind of an aged look. It's going to be, like, I know it's going to be very, very fragile, and I'm going to get scratches and wear, and I'm going to get like marks and stuff on that guitar, but that's how I want it to look. I'm actually going for that aged kind of look, and I want it to age quicker. So that's why I'm sticking with the gold hardware that came with the kit. The only thing I ordered for that kit were black rings, because the rings that came with the kit were cream color, and I don't like cream color. And also the knobs, they were gold, but I ordered a set of these top hat knobs for it as well. So I think that's going to be a nice look for it. I think it's going to be killer, man. I think once it's done, I think that's going to be a really, really nice guitar. Except it's really taking a long time to do. And I'm doing this on my spare time. And especially now that it's really humid. We're getting like a lot of rain and really high humidity. So it's not the best time to actually spray lacquer. You really don't want it to be too humid because that stuff takes a long time to dry. So just wanted to tell you that, guys. Just be careful. I don't play enough acoustic, and I brought out my acoustic guitar recently as well, just to be able to focus on chords and stuff. I just don't do that enough, and sometimes I just like playing songs with just chords and not worrying too much about leads, you know, and just trying to develop some melodies with some interesting chords and just like come up with something interesting. To be honest with you guys, this guitar, which I also reviewed, really budget guitar. Check out my video. I compared this one to a couple of other acoustic guitars. This is a Donner, believe it or not. I bought this for my my kids, and I've been playing it because it sounds good. It's really a nice guitar. I didn't even change the original strings. They're just really nice. Overall, solid top on this thing. Solid spruce top. Back looks really nice, and it even has the onboard electronics. So your tuner and EQ and everything. You have the ability to go out with a balanced out as well as a regular out. And honestly, it's a great deal. The only thing I probably will end up doing is just lowering the bridge a little bit, just to get the action slightly lower, and maybe changing the black tuners, because black tuners look weird on this thing, don't you find? An acoustic guitar with black tuners. But I mean, they tune okay. But eventually I might. What is my number one go-to acoustic in your collection? The one that's closest to me. It's the one that's my go-to acoustic. Actually, I have a Martin guitar that I like. I only have one other acoustic guitar, and that's my Martin. This one, my son has a Yamaha. This one that I bought just as a kick-around guitar that I really like, actually, and the Martin. Those are the only ones. So the Martin sometimes is always like it's in its case. So I don't always have it nearby. Yeah, the satin look on these guitars are great, honestly. I really do like it. You know? Look at that. I mean, the back and sides look awesome for I think this guitar is like 180 bucks, 190 bucks. Came with a bag, came with strings, a tuner, and a couple of other things in the case. Let me look at some of the other questions here. The 335 kit looks complicated. It's actually not that complicated as a kit as a whole, as long as you follow the steps involved. The only issue is that you have to make sure that whenever you glue in the neck, it's really glued in properly, because otherwise, if you mess up that glue joint, you're it's scrap. You know, you won't be able to fix it very easily without taking the glue out, which is not easy to do. What do you, just wondering what you think of Gretsch guitars? I ordered one. I think Gretsch guitars are really good. I like them. I actually played a Gretsch guitar when way back when I had my Mesa, however you want to pronounce it. My Mesa Boogie Electrodyne. I played the Gretsch on that amplifier. Sounded great. The Electrodyne has a sort of a blackface clean sound, a little bit beefier though, and has a really nice overdriven sound. And I played it through the low overdrive setting on that amplifier, and it sounded great. So I don't have a Gretsch in my collection. Maybe one day I'm gonna have to end up getting one. You can get PRS models that are only for neck, you know. LOL. I'm not sure what the comments were relating to there. I'm gonna scroll back a bit. I feel your pain, Tony. I built a stand to hold a 20 and it's still too small. Damn gas. I know, I wish somebody would come up with an expandable modular floor unit for guitars, you know, to hold your guitars where you can just keep adding to them. That would be a good idea. Fat Philosopher doesn't like the birds on the PRS. Not metal enough. You know, they have models that just have the dots. You don't have to get the birds. Ed says, yeah, mine's got the PRS signature on the headstock, which looks very nice. Yeah, I prefer it to the block inlays. Definitely not as nice as having the beautiful script lettering there. And heading out this morning to buy 3 stands and an amp stand from Kijiji. 20 bucks Canadian for all. You know what? Look on Amazon, because I ordered a bunch of these stage 1 stands, and I think they're like, I don't know, 15 bucks, 16 bucks brand new. And if you buy a couple, they have sets of 2 and 3, you get a discount. So instead of buying a used one for 20, you can actually get a brand new one for, get 2 or 3 of them for less. They're actually pretty good. They're not built too badly. They're budget, but you know, they're still pretty good. Don't you find the guitars get covered in dust more than expected when not in a case? Yeah, well, it depends on the environment. My environment here is pretty clean. There's not a lot of dust, but there is dog hair. And that's my dilemma, is keeping the freaking dog hair off of everything, especially the pedal board. Because my dog is always here. She's under my desk right now sleeping. And I have to vacuum everything regularly, including my pedal board, to keep things from getting too hairy, and it works its way into everything. So that's the only issue I have. Dust is not a big issue for me. So what have you guys been looking at in terms of any deals lately? Anything interesting in terms of guitar deals? Any kind of interesting pedals, budget pedals, or anything like that? You know, I haven't been splurging that much lately because I still have quite a few things that I need to look at here. Um, I bought a couple of new got a couple of new instrument cables. I showed these in the last live series, and these are 20-foot speaker cables. They work really nice. They work really great. They're a little bit more bendy, and the reason I like them is because I like to put them through my guitar strap and in and around them, so that when I'm playing, I don't get stumble on them, and they work really well for that. And the thing that I like most about these guitar cables is that they don't make noise. And if you try this with your cables, you'll know what I mean. If you take a guitar cable once it's plugged into your amplifier, keep the other end loose in your hand. Don't plug it into your guitar, but put up the volume and shake the guitar cable. The cheap guitar cables make noise when they hit the ground and stuff. You'll definitely hear a noise, and you don't want those type of speaker cables. Some of them are better than others. Some of them are really bad. These don't make any noise at all for that in that regard. So they're a lot better, and they're not expensive. You can get them off Amazon as well. And I'm happy when I come across something that's well made and not too expensive. I find like that's a win for me. What's my opinion on noise gates? You know what? I don't have a noise gate on my pedal board right now. I don't think I have excessive noise. There's definitely buzzing and whatnot that's going to happen. 60 cycle hum, but I'm not a high gain metal player, so I don't have too much gain, too much noise from the gain. So I didn't really feel like I needed a noise gate. To be honest with you, if you have a good power supply and good connectors between your pedals, good cables, you can cut down on the noise substantially to the point where you probably won't even need a noise gate. If some pedals are really noisy, I kind of get rid of them. I don't keep them in my signal chain. There have been a few that have been really noisy, especially when they go into the effects loop, and I noticed that about some of them. And there are definitely pedals that suck tone as well. So I try to get rid of those pedals, and I simplify my pedal board so that I don't have too many pedals that will introduce noise in the signal chain. And the rest I'm pretty happy to live with. I don't necessarily need to have a dead quiet sound for live. If you're doing any kind of recording, you might require that. But when I'm recording, typically I'll go through a multi-effects unit that has a noise gate built in. Or I'll just use the software when I'm actually recording. So I don't feel I actually need too much of a noise gate situation. Bud H says, wanna buy a JJN Blackstar, waiting for a review. Me too. Yeah, I've been a little lazy lately on my reviews. I have it ready to go. I just have to finalize a few things on it. But yeah, the JJ is really nice. I want to let you guys know that there's also good deals happening on the Black Star, not the JJ versions, but the other versions, which are also 20 watts. I think they lowered the price on them. So if you want to grab one of those and you don't necessarily have $1,000 to blow on the JJ version, you can get in the ballpark. They don't sound the same, however. So if you're expecting the same total sound output, you're not going to get it. But maybe if you want to save yourself some money, I think the other version is about $700, while the JJ is 1,000. That's Canadian. So I think in the States it's like 500 or something for the regular version. Christian says I picked up an Epiphone Elitist made in Japan, right up there with my Bernie guitars. Nice. Where did you find that guitar? Was that bought brand new, or did you stumble across it used? All those old Japanese guitars, hang on to them, guys. Don't sell them. I know sometimes you might get an urge to sell them. I've actually had an urge to sell the Black Beauty one. I'm glad I didn't. It's really, I find it's going to just go up in value, and it's a great guitar. I don't feel that I need to scratch the Gibson Black Beauty itch now that I have this guitar, honestly. So it's actually saving me money. What else? I have seen some Bernies around here in Japan. Edwards makes a good LP style as well for the Japanese market. I mean, in your area, Fat Philosopher, if you're in Japan, I mean, I'd be snagging up a whole bunch of Japanese guitars instead of trying to get American ones. Why don't you just try and get some good quality Japanese ones? Some of you like the AMG pickups. I tried them, and I didn't really like them all that much. Actually, a friend of mine had the AMGs on his Black Beauty. He has an original Gibson Black Beauty. There's another friend of mine, not the guitarist that plays with me, and when he bought the guitar, the original pickups were gone, and somebody had installed some Black Beauty, some EMGs in it. I tried it. I don't know. I just found it was sterile sounding, in my opinion. So I'm not a big fan of EMGs. Bruce says my Martin never goes in its case. I find it's very hard to play it when it's in there. Good for you. Definitely keep your acoustics out. And what else are we talking about? So nobody's bought anything recently? I mean, you guys are letting me down. I was hoping to hear you guys talk about some gears, talk about, what you've purchased. People are selling stuff here. Fat Philosopher says he sold his made in Japan Fender for $250 profit. You're going to regret it, man. You're going to want to scratch that Fender itch, and you're going to be forced to spend $1,500 on the new one, only to realize that the Japanese one that you probably had was probably better. So one thing I also wanted to talk about very briefly is that I was experimenting with the Amperos, because I have the Ampero 1 and the original Ampero, and one of the things that I wanted to talk about on those multi-effects units is, if you guys are considering one over the other, is there are a couple of differences between the two. The Ampero 1 is a scaled down version, which they've cut out a few features, and unfortunately, let me just show you what I mean. Blow off the dog hair. There's dog hair everywhere here. So this is the smaller version of the two, and it's nice because it's small and compact, but they don't have certain features that the bigger one has. Namely, obviously, there's one less button, but the thing is, they've also removed this power switch in the back, and I don't know why they would do that because it's really not very professional to have to shut off the unit by pulling out the power cord. And I don't know, it's just a cheap thing, but I figured they would at least keep the switch on there. The outputs are not the same as well. But one of the things that I don't like about these units is the fact that I thought that the editor on the original Ampero and this one would be compatible with each other, so that I wouldn't have to load two different editors that are basically identical in every way except the software release number. Well, in actual fact, you can't use the original Ampero software to edit this one. You have to download another Ampero software, and the thing is, if you already have the other one installed on your computer, in my case a Mac, the Mac won't let you install the second one because it's going to think it's already installed. So you have to kind of remove the old one to be able to use the one for the new one. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, the other thing is that I noticed you should be able to load up all of the same patches. So the patches I made with the larger Ampero should be able to load in here, which you can do. But unfortunately, they don't sound the same. So there's definitely some difference within the firmware. The firmware number on this and the firmware number on the full-blown one are not the same. So I think that's going to be enough to have a different sound, which sucks because you spend so much time dialing in the sounds that you want to be able to move them over to the other unit and take it with you and have the same sounds, but it doesn't work that way. So I was very disappointed to see that, it's a little bit annoying. So I'm trying to consider which one to keep. I wanted to go with the smaller one because I figured it's more compact for just taking with me and stuff. But knowing that it's not identical in terms of the sound quality, I think maybe I'm gonna stick with the full-blown one now. And but I'll do a review on all of that for you guys considering the Ampero. It's a great unit overall. I really like it a lot, but these issues probably wouldn't be any concern for a normal person using one or the other, but you wouldn't notice it unless you're using both of them. And but I just wanted to mention that because yeah, it could be an issue for some. So unfortunately, sometimes you learn the hard way after buying a unit, and I'm playing with that tonight. I'm going to be taking that with me with the Headrush speaker that I have behind me. I'm going to try and go totally digital tonight. Last session I went and I took the Blackstar Jared James Nichols amplifier, and it really rocked really well. But I wanted to try going with the digital format today just to see if everything would still sound good. And I spend so much time tweaking the sounds on my multi-effects unit that sometimes I feel that is actually a disadvantage with multi-effects units, because when you have pedals, you're kind of limited to what the pedals can do. They have their sounds and that's it. And you have to kind of accept that's the sounds you're going to get with that configuration. You can't really go further. With multi-effects unit, you can tweak till the cows come home. And sometimes you get obsessive. I know I do. And every time I think I have the sound the way I want it, and I plug it in again and start playing with a different guitar or something like that, and I continue tweaking it because it's like, oh man, it's not as punchy as I thought it was gonna be, and I thought it'd be a little bit brighter or a little bit more cutting, and you end up tweaking it again, and you just spend hours and hours tweaking it until you get the sounds that you want out of it. So anyways, I'm gonna try it tonight. We'll see how it goes. But I just if you're really obsessive like I am, maybe you stick with pedals. It might be more time effective for you guys. Landon Bailey says he got a Squier Tornado. I don't even know that model. What is that? One of their new models that have come out recently? The Paranormal series, is that it? Don't know that one. I got to check that one out. Bruce says, I have active pickups, especially for blues and classic rock, which is mostly what I play. Oh, sorry, I hate, not I have. Sorry. Um, yeah, I find that, like I said earlier, I think they're just a little bit too sterile sounding for me. I prefer to live with the noise, with the slight hum, and get more of those harmonic overtones. But maybe the new ones are better. I haven't tried them lately. So maybe the new versions. I mean, when I tried it, it was probably 20 years ago. So maybe the technology has gotten better over time. I don't know. There's even those they're not active pickups. What do they call those? Where they look like humbuckers. Sorry, they look like single coils for a Strat, but instead of having a round magnet, they have a bar magnet, and they're at a slant. I don't know if you've seen those. They're very expensive. I think they're kind of active. I'm not really sure if they're totally active or not, but those two, they don't sound as good, I find. Um, so sometimes the old technology is the best just because that's what our ear is accustomed to hearing. Bought a Donner Noise Killer and a metalcore pedal today. So what do you think of them? Specifically the metalcore, I've been wondering what those sound like in real life. I saw a lot of reviews on those. I haven't tried one myself. 5150 says the last thing I bought was a Slick SL59 Telecaster. I bought it to practice fretwork and to modify. So how are those Slick guitars? That's off what is it called? Guitar Fetish, if I'm not mistaken, right? Bruce says, love my big Ampero, which I bought totally on Tony's recommendation. I like it too, Bruce. I mean, I'm not knocking the unit. I think the unit has a lot of very positive things to offer. But there's just like little nuances that bother me, and I think they could make it a lot better just by getting these things ironed out. I think they probably will eventually, but it's just a couple of things that I figured is worth mentioning just in case somebody's considering getting one. And Strat 5150 is also still digging my big Ampero. You guys, we should get together and exchange some patches that we're working on. Just since there's a couple of Ampero users here, maybe we can get some sounds across to each other. Quicksilver says, I'm more curious about the Joyo Gem Box. Joyo has come out with a couple of of interesting pedals in the last little while. I don't know if they're still going to have new ones coming out for this year. They haven't really mentioned anything. They're kind of secretive until they're out there. But yeah, definitely there's a couple of interesting ones that I'd like to get a chance to try. The Gen Box looks interesting as well. That Slick plays so well, I think I will buy a Nocaster bridge pickup to keep everything else. It's great when you can get a complete guitar for not too much money and use it as a modding platform. If you're looking for something that fits the bill, definitely a lot cheaper to buy a guitar complete and change a couple of parts than buy a guitar part by part. I've done both. I actually have a Strat body that's sort of going to be in my next build, and I'm waiting to get a neck that I like for it and put it together. But I haven't started that project yet. It's going to cost, at the end of the day, it's going to cost me a substantial amount of money. But the idea is to get something that you like, that is custom, and plays really well. Christopher, take it easy, dude. We'll see you next Sunday, hopefully. Landon Bailey says, I sold my Katana 100 because of that options paralysis. I agree. Sometimes I avoid pedals when they're too complicated. Somebody had offered me a pedal that was basically a distortion, not an overdrive pedal, but it had like 6 or 8 selected selectable diodes and a bunch of different frequencies that you can use along with the other standard knobs. And I just basically, I told him no, because I'm going to be putzing around with that thing forever. I prefer just to go straight into for the kill and get like a specific sound that I like and stick with that and build around that. Because at the end, when you have too many options, it's just like you're tweaking forever. Same thing with the Axe-Fx, same thing with the Kempers and all these things. That's why I prefer to go with multi-effects units that are not as sophisticated, just to kind of keep things a little bit more manageable and get in, dial a sound, even if it's not the most perfect sound, you know you've dialed in the sound as best as you can, and you move on from there and continue playing. Otherwise, you're constantly tweaking. Maybe some people don't have this problem. Maybe it's just me. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. What do you guys think of the Squier Affinity Telecaster HH with matching color on the headstock? I'm thinking of getting one just to bang around with. Your thoughts? Um, I would go. I mean, if you're looking for a Squier, I would go with the classic vibes. I just find that they're a little bit better quality, and the price difference is not huge. The HH Telecasters are an interesting beast because they don't sound like a Telecaster. So if you like the Telecaster look but don't necessarily want the Telecaster sound, it's a good option. But if you want a Telecaster sound, then I wouldn't go with with humbuckers in there. It all depends what you're after. Um, Strat 5150 says, I like the Fryman B2 and the Twin Rock cab, but the Fender, Marshall, and the Soldanos are great too. There's so many great amps out there, guys, right now that it's really, you know, you come home, you're driving home with your new amplifier you just bought, and you're seeing advertising somewhere for, you know, a new amplifier that's maybe sounds better already, you know, and you're like discouraged because you just bought one. You're like, what the heck? But yeah, there's a lot of great sounding amps out there. I keep trying to keep my blinders on to a certain degree and not like be influenced by too many things, because you know I can't control myself, but sometimes it just gets the better of me. But once you have a great amp platform that you can play in a couple of different scenarios, including at home, you're good to go for a while, unless there's something that comes out that really blows your socks off. I've been looking at a Blackstar 100 watt half stack for $1,000. Jack, are you playing live or are you playing this 100 watt Blackstar at home? Because 100 watts is really loud, dude. 50 watts is loud. So unless you're playing a stadium, 100 watts might be overkill. Unless it's got a switch where you can lower down the wattage on it. I sanded the black paint off the headstock and shot it with vintage amber nitro. Worked over the fretboard and edges, spent a few hours on the frets, but I enjoyed it and learned a lot about fretwork. So you're a tinker like I am. I like doing that kind of stuff too. So, you know, inexpensive guitars are perfect for that, you know, definitely. You don't have to be too worried about messing things up too badly. You know, if it does get messed up for whatever reason and to the point where you can't go back, no big deal. At the end of the day, you know, it's not that expensive to repair or flip or use for some other project or whatever. So if you're doing fretwork, it's a good place to start. I tweaked a lot of my own. I'll be glad to share them. I find some of the best results come from starting with a basically clean sound and adding effects and mods. I agree with you, Bruce, and the thing that I find the most challenging with multi-effects unit is getting a good, clean, punchy sound. It's difficult to get a good, clean, but once you have a good, clean, punchy sound, you can basically build on there to get whatever other sound you want. I find, however, that sometimes, maybe it's just me, but I find that sometimes the sound while you're working on it changes too much, and it's hard to go back and get a clean, punchy sound. Sometimes I have to like reload a sound that I originally started from, and basically continue modifying it from there to end up getting a good, crunchy overdrive sound. I don't know if you know what I mean. I tend to save my sounds. So the original sounds I save, and then when I have a sound that I like and it's dialed in the way I like it, I save that one as well. So I don't keep all of my original sounds on my Ampero just in case something should happen to it, or I make a mistake and accidentally delete them. I can always go back to them, you know. But yeah, I'd be happy to share some of my settings with you. And I don't know if you're using an FR speaker when you're building your sounds, but it makes a big difference to the actual overall end result if you're using an FR speaker to program your sounds. Strat5150 says, set us up a forum to share our Ampero patches. I got to think about the best way to do that. Might be able to do that with a Dropbox or something like that. Alan says, Squier Chinese made Affinity are not that great. They use cheap muck metal parts. The Indonesian Vibe series are far better. I agree. And the amount of difference that you're going to see in price is not that much. So at the end, you're better off just splurging a little bit and getting the better quality classic Vibe one. You won't regret it. You can get them used for not that much money. Christian says, I picked up a Slash wah pedal, has a distortion built in, got it dirt cheap. So how do you like that pedal? Because at the end of the day, the only thing that turns me off about these artist series whatever is that they're typically dialed in for like one particular sound. So if you have this, like the wah with the distortion built in, it could sound really, really good for that Slash sound, but does it do like other types of wah effects just as good, or are you stuck with that sound? Bruce says, I also have a Katana 100 Mark II and use the same approach. I developed this approach from watching Studio Rat's YouTube video. Works for both Ampero and the Katana. That's the thing with most digital units. The theory in building a sound with one is kind of the same approach you would use with the other, including the higher end units like the Axe-Fx and everything else. Michael Scott says, many thanks, and I agree with you on the complicated pedals. Just want to plug into my Marshall and play using just a few pedals. Love your show. Well, thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. Thank you for those kind words. Sometimes going right into your amp is the best, That's part of the reason why I bought the Blackstar amp, because it just sounded so good just on its own. Without any pedals. Like I mentioned our last show, I basically took it with me for the jam, and I just bought the amp, no pedals, with the foot switch, and I was ready to rock. And usually I have to bring my foot switches, my effects pedals. I have to bring my my amp or whatever with it as well. I decided to go lean and light, and it really worked well. And that's for me a sign of a good quality amp when you can do that. So Landon Bailey says, yeah, the Tornado is part of the Squier Paranormal series. It's a reissue of the Fender model, Lake Plastic Blue dual humbucker offset shape. I gotta say, the offset shape's quite interesting to me in terms of the new models that they've come out with. Some people really don't like them because it's basically too different, but I think it's kind of in between what they have now and some of like the Jaguar series and stuff like that. So it's a very familiar shape. So I think a lot of people don't mind them all that much. The slick was great for learning on because the bones were good but raw. No poly finish, thick rosewood, and the frets were not ground off at an angle. Yeah, a lot of the overseas guitars, it seems like they just take some kind of a grinder and just like just shave off the ends of the frets and just leave them like that. And then you're basically dealing with razor blades all the way down. So a lot of times they require a bit of work. Jack says, I'm thinking about buying a Blackstar amp, but I ain't never heard of them. I don't know whether they are any good or not. Look, I'm new to the Blackstar family. I never had a Blackstar before, and I didn't even consider buying one before this. I wasn't a big fan of the HT series that they have. Um, a lot of gain on those amplifiers. They have some artist series or artisan series, which are kind of a little bit more vintage sounding. And then they just came out with this one, the JJ N R20, which to me is the sound. I really do like that sound. So it depends on what you're looking for. Some people don't like the Blackstar amps because they feel that maybe they're not made as well. I don't know if that's true or not. I think it's just a question of people in the Marshall camp maybe being a little bit threatened by an amplifier company that kind of gives you that Marshall sound and is not as expensive overall. And they also have some solid state technology built into it. So, people tend to think that it's not vintage, true vintage, because there's some higher, more modern technology built into it. But I feel that they work really, really well. And there's a lot of nice features built into that amplifier. It's not big, it's not heavy, it's super loud, and it sounds great, both clean and overdriven. To me, it's everything I want in a small enclosure. And I bought it to replace my Blues Junior, which was a good amp as well, but was never able to give me a good quality overdriven tone unless I was using pedals with it. And even at that, it had a very distinctive sound because of the way it was dialed in. And most importantly, the Blues Junior didn't have an effects loop, and I really like to go with my modulation effects into the effects loop and not the front of the amplifier. So that's the reason why I ultimately ended up selling the Blues Junior. It's still a great amplifier for what it does, but it just didn't have as much flexibility as I needed, and I didn't want to have two similar amps. And I have to admit, although I love the Fender sound, I am more of a Marshall guy. And a lot of people think Marshalls can't get clean, but actually the vintage Marshalls, including the Plexi, have a really great clean sound. It's just that most people are accustomed to hearing the Plexi sound dialed up really high for gain, and they think that's what it sounds like all the time. But in actual fact, the Plexis have a great clean sound. If you ever owned one, you'll know what I mean. Strat 5150 says we could have a closed Facebook group and we could share pics and patches. Yeah, definitely. We can definitely try doing that. I'd be up to doing that, unless you want to do it, and then I'll upload my patches there. However you guys feel you want to do it. Raphael says, just got my first tube amp, an AC30 S1. Light and Vox through and through. Compared to my Boss Katana is quite different, but it feels more like a tone base to work on that I can find my own sound. That's one amplifier I never owned, is a Vox. I came close to getting one, so freaking close, and I ended up missing out. I told the story a couple of live shows ago. I had found a really nice Vox. I think it was the AC32 that I wanted. It was also an AC30, and I found it on a local ad, and the guy was asking peanuts for it, and I go, this is a perfect deal. I wouldn't normally grab one, but the price was so great. Called the guy up, and he wasn't answering. It took me a while for him to get through to him. Finally told him, look, I want to buy the amplifier. And he's like, yeah, sorry, dude, there's somebody that already wanted to buy it. So I'm like, look, if I come right now and I bring you like some extra cash, would you sell it to me? He's like, sure, as long as you get here soon. I ended up driving down there, and as I rang the doorbell, he comes out of the on the balcony, and he's like, "Sorry, dude." And I'm like, "What do you mean, sorry?" And the door opens, and out comes this other fellow with the amplifier in his hands, and I had just missed my window of opportunity by like 15 minutes or something like that. So I didn't end up getting the Vox, and I wanted the Vox at that time. So I guess it just wasn't time for me. I think a lot of times the gear finds you. You know, there's a reason why you stumble across gear, and it's just kind of like there's some celestial beings out there that are like, okay, this guitar and you are a perfect match, and you should be together. It happened with my Tokai, and I told that story too. I'll just tell you guys again if you haven't heard it already. But my Tokai Love Rock that I love so much, not the Black Beauty, the other one. Um, I ended up seeing it on an Kijiji ad as well, locally. And the guy was asking peanuts again for it. And I knew it was a great deal. I knew it was a Japanese model and everything. So I'm like, I got to call this guy. And I'm calling and I'm texting, calling and texting. Honestly, I think I called him probably 40 or 50 times over the period of a week, and he was never responding to my messages. Yet the ad was still there. It hadn't been removed. So I'm like, maybe there's a chance that this guy hasn't sold it, you know? Um, so I ended up almost giving up because at the end I got fed up of trying to reach this guy. And I ended up finally giving it one more shot. I'm like, just let me try one more time. Send him a message. Finally he answers, and he's like, yeah, sorry, dude, because I was in the hospital for about a week. I had a car accident, and I wasn't able to answer my messages. And I'm like, oh my God, that's terrible. But do you still have the guitar? And he's like, yeah, I still have the guitar. It's still for sale. And I'm like, dude, I want that guitar. I want to buy it tonight. So he's like, sure, sure, I'll meet you. And ended up meeting him and looked at the guitar and grabbed it right away for the price he was asking for it. It was a super bargain. And I felt bad for the guy, but I was super happy that I ended up getting that guitar. And I'm thinking back to it, saying to myself, well, who knows how many other people were trying to contact him about that guitar and ended up giving up. And here I am, I was the one who stuck with it, and it ended up being, my guitar. So I think when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. That's why I don't necessarily sweat it too much when a deal falls through the cracks and I don't end up getting it, because I figured, okay, I didn't get it this time. There's maybe a reason why that guitar or that amplifier or that effects pedal was not right or meant to be. So I let it go, and then eventually something else catches my attention that I like better. So it usually happens like that. So don't sweat it, guys. Don't sweat the small stuff if that deal ends up being lost. Does anyone else have this problem? If I leave the Ampero editor running for a long time, it loses connection to the pedal, and I have to reboot the whole computer to get it working again. Windows 10. I have a feeling it's not an issue with the Ampero per se. It's probably your computer going into sleep mode, and when it does, it probably somehow goes into low power mode, which at that point loses the connection to the USB. So check your power settings, and maybe check what the power settings specifically are on your computer for sleep mode. And if it goes into low power mode, that could be it. My laptop is too old to work with my Katana 50. Got to upgrade. That's the other thing. The other issues you have with these units that are they're kind of tied into technology. That's why I don't like technology that is based on phone technology specifically, because phone technology moves rather quickly. And at the end of the day, if you can't use the software, you can't use the unit because now your phone's not compatible anymore, you're basically throwing it away. And I don't like that. So, you know, but unfortunately, that's the future, right? Computers and amplifiers are getting tied into each other. And But I saw a funny meme the other day. Funny meme regarding a multi-effects unit. And there's a picture of a guy and he's playing, the early pods, those ones that look like a kidney shaped pods. And the heading says, sounds exactly like my amplifier, right? And then you see another picture of the same guy with a modern Kemper or an Axe-Fx, and it says sounds exactly like my amplifier. So I think that's the funny thing is like we always think we have the greatest stuff, but at the end of the day, these multi-effects units really don't sound like amplifiers. Uh, Amplifiers are amplifiers, man. There's that sound. There's a reason why amplifiers are still around today. But we often think that there's, that they sound the same, but they really don't. So keep that in mind, guys, when you go the multi-effects route. I don't have false pretenses, and I don't think that, I don't know if we're ever going to get to the feel of an amplifier. Sound is going to be very close, but the feel and the sound is really what makes it, right? Strat 5150 says, I just like buying gear. Damn, I have a problem. Dude, we're all here for the same reason. And the 5150s are not bad. I tried one in Vegas when I was in the States, and it sounded pretty nice. I like the little lunchbox one. It sounded pretty good. The engineers at Blackstar worked for Marshall. That's right. They decided to go on their own and start up Blackstar. What worries me is that my tastes are getting more expensive. I understand what you're saying, man. You know what? To a certain degree, my tastes are getting less expensive. After having expensive gear, I really appreciate the value of less expensive gear that is good. And I think a lot of the lower end stuff is getting to the point now where it's getting pretty competitive to some of the more expensive stuff. I mean, case in point, look at this cheap guitar, like $200. That means like to build this guitar, probably they're probably building this guitar for $25. You know what I mean? And it doesn't sound shabby. Plays really nice. Like I said, even with the stock strings on them that are probably like really bad strings. I have to change these strings to something better, but you know what I mean? Whenever I find an instrument like that, I'm super happy because it's almost like you found a secret that nobody else knows. The Eastman SB59V with the violin finish. I needs it, dude. You gotta go get it then. If it's a need and not a want, you gotta go get it. Jakal Vi, nice to see you, man. Thank you for joining us. I can just reboot the Ampero and it reconnects. Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I mean, that's never happened to me, but I'm plugged into a Mac, so I couldn't say if it's a PC issue or what. Computer doesn't go to sleep. I am an IT engineer and all of my computers run full on all the time. That's the only thing I could think of. I mean, if it's something related to the power down sequence or the sleep sequence. Landon Bailey, as I mentioned earlier, I don't have any experience with Eastwood guitars other than they look really nice. And I really wanted to try one. I actually reached out to them to see if they might be able to send one my way for a review. But I think they said like, they don't need additional advertising or whatever. So, I haven't seen one locally though. So I couldn't tell you how good they are because I haven't had an opportunity to try one in person. Take it easy, Christian. Nice to see you, man. Could be a Windows 10 thing, that issue there. I'm not really sure. Ah, technology, guys, isn't it wonderful? Sometimes that's why I just like taking my acoustic guitar, playing this. I mean, you don't have to worry about anything. All you got to worry about is not dropping your pick. Where is my pick? Here it is. And speaking of picks, I gotta say, with acoustic guitars, I'm sure you guys already know this, but the pick makes such a big difference in terms of tonality. Um, on my electric guitars, I usually use these Prodigy picks. I've shown them before. I don't know if you can see them. The reason why I like them is look at the shape. You can basically, no matter how you grab the pick, it's always the right side, right? You don't have to worry about it grabbing the pick the wrong way. Like I got like a bunch of picks that I keep in a little pill bottle here. I'll show you what I mean here. I tend to go for picks that are a little bit thicker for my electric guitars and thinner for my acoustic, just to get a little bit more high-end sound. Like here's a pick that I liked for a while. This is the Jim Dunlop. They call them stubbies. Pretty thick. Look how thick this thing is. But you see, like if you grab this pick this way, you're holding it the wrong way, right? You have to specifically orientate it this way, right? Has a lot more high end than this one. This one has like a coating on it. It's kind of like a little bit of like a rubberized feel to it. But I like these a lot for my electric guitars. Not so much for my acoustics, because the acoustics, I like them to be a little bit more plucky. So for the acoustics, I have other picks in my pill bottle here. I don't have any that I really like. I like these also. These are the Jim Dunlop. These are the XL series. They're like the jazz picks, but bigger. And I like them because you have a bit more room when you're using them, and even though you have your fingers around the pick, you don't get as much. You don't get as close to the tip. Whereas the jazz picks, you have a lot of opportunity to like get the squeals with your thumb. This one you can do it, but it's normally a little bit less in your way. And I find these are a nice compromise on the acoustic guitar. You can use these for electric and acoustic, and they're really nice. I just wish the price wouldn't be so expensive. And these are very similar to the Petrucci ones that I bought, except the Petrucci ones, the material is a little harder and a little bit more glossy. This is a little bit more plasticky. But the Petrucci ones are they're good as well, but they're like $8 for a few of them. So the picks do really change the sound on an acoustic guitar tremendously. So definitely play around with different picks if you can. Bruce says, just for the record, I also have a mild case of computer gas, but nowhere near my addiction to music gear. Yeah. I have to upgrade my computer system very soon. My Mac is not playing very friendly with me anymore. And although I've been using my laptop for these series, eventually I want to get a more powerful machine for my video editing needs and whatnot. So I've been kind of waiting for that, for the right moment. Unfortunately, I bought my Mac used, and I thought I was getting a good deal with it, but unfortunately, I think I got taken for a ride because it always had problems. So there's something weird with the Mac. I'll have to reformat it eventually, and just wipe it completely clean and start over. I just don't have the time to do that. I bought a $300 Eastman acoustic, and it sounds great to me anyways. What model is that? $300, that's a good deal. Now the Eastmans, I think, are made in China, right? Let's see your Squier Contemporary. It's not on my rack. Yeah, it's not on my rack. It's all the way in the other room on my shelves, so I'm not gonna bother going and get it right now. But I still have both of them. Hey Jonathan, how you doing, man? You up already? I was just watching your show. Jonathan is a good friend of mine, and he has his own YouTube channel. If you guys haven't checked him out, please do. And he does these live chat marathons where he goes on for like a couple of hours. And I guess he's a night owl because what time is it over there, Jonathan? I guess it's what? It's almost midnight. It's really humid here right now, and I don't know. I think it's affecting the acoustic guitars to a certain degree. All this humidity back and forth. What two Squire contemporaries do you have? I have the same two Strat models. They're identical to one another. The only difference is there's different colors. I have a red one with two humbuckers, and I have the off-white one or the pearl one with two humbuckers as well. I like them so much, and I got a good deal on them that I ended up buying two because I wanted to use them as a modding platform. And I'll eventually probably only keep one of them. But I liked the colors, and I ended up getting two, like the psycho that I am. So eventually I'll end up selling one of the two, but they're both great guitars. And obviously I've changed the pickups in them from the stock Squire pickups, and pickup upgrade makes a big difference as well. So you know, if you can do that, you'll probably end up liking the guitar even more. That's the main reason I bought those guitars, because I knew that everything else on them is good. I mean, apart from maybe the tuners, which are a little bit like lower end tuners, you can always put in a set of locking tuners or something a little bit better. But overall, I feel that they're quite good, and it wouldn't cost me a lot to upgrade the Strat. So having a nice Strat with humbuckers in it is a good thing for me, because I used to have a Charvel San Dimas Pro Mod with Floyd, and eventually I basically learned through the hard way that I wasn't able to bond that well with Floyd's. I had a couple of guitars over the years with Floyd's and ended up selling most of them because of that. Because Floyd's are a pain. They're just like you. They're more hassle than they're worth, in my opinion. And I do like to play alternate tunings as well, and like the have the ability to drop D and do other things. And the Floyd's, I mean, you have to dial it in perfectly, and if God forbid you should break a string or something, it's a whole nightmare of a hassle. So I ended up selling the Charvel for that reason. Now I'm actually eyeing the new Charvels because they came out with the new line, beautiful guitars, and they decided not to put Floyd Roses on those guitars, and very similar to what you would see with the Ibanez series. I guess they're competing with one another. They have some nice baked maple necks and whatnot. No stainless steel frets on the Charvels. That's one of the differences between the Charvels and the Ibanez guitars. But to be honest with you, I could live without stainless steel frets. It's not a big deal breaker for me. As a matter of fact, I noticed the stainless steel frets do have a slight ping sound to them when you're playing that you hear. Not extremely audible, but it's there. And I don't really care whether or not they're stainless or not. I feel that I can work with both. So I'm waiting for those new Charvels to come out for a while, so I can start seeing them on the used market. When the price drops, I might actually get one, because I've been eyeing them for a long time, and I wanted to potentially grab one. It's funny, Rico, because I asked the question whether or not I should keep the pearl white one or the red one, and the the majority of the people on that day said I should keep the red one, which I kind of like the pearl one too. I can't really make up my mind but I guess I get a lot more people like red for some reason. Rico says it plays as good as my Charvel. Neck is great. Yeah, tuners are not the best. The thing that's cool about the Squire contemporaries, the necks are not painted with a poly. It's like a kind of like a very light finish. Almost feels like raw wood, and it allows you to. I like that feel a lot. Take a little bit of uh, very light sandpaper or maybe even steel wool, and just scuff the back of that neck, and it's gonna feel really, really smooth. And that's one of the reasons I like that particular guitar is because of the neck, and it's not a very thin neck. It's a lot like a Strat neck, and I like it a lot. And just maybe the edge of the frets maybe needed to be rounded over a little bit, maybe just made less sharp, because sometimes you do get a little bit of fret sprout on those guitars. But after that's taken care of, the guitar really plays great and feels great too. Mark is asking, "What state are you in?" If I can ask, I don't know if that question is directed to me. If it is, I'm not in the States. I'm actually in Canada. I'm in Montreal. Alan says, "I'll have to keep going for 5 hours to compete with Jonathan." Jonathan is like the Bruce Springsteen of live chats. He just goes and goes and goes, and it's great. It's fantastic. Absolutely hate Floyd. Sold every one. I tried to get into it because I do like Eddie Van Halen, and I figured, that would be cool to have like a Charvel with a Floyd. I also had a Music Man with a Floyd and a couple of other guitars. But honestly, now I've kind of matured, and I'm like, I still get the urge every once in a while to get a Floyd, but honestly, um, I come to my senses rather quickly, and I'm like, nah. I remember the hassle that it was, and I'm like, stick to a regular bridge. Yeah, the non-floating Floyds are even a bit better because they do bottom out. So if you do break a string, for example, they don't go out of tune completely. But the floating ones is it's like a sports car. Everything has to be tuned really, really well to be able to get that the whole mechanism working properly. I saw a video from you with a black EVH Stealth. Was it yours? Yeah, that was mine. That was the last guitar I bought with a Floyd on it. The EVH Stealth. I bought that in the States when I was no, I bought it here. Sorry, I saw it in the States when I was in Vegas, and that gave me some gas. And then when I came back from Vegas, I found somebody selling it, and I ended up buying that guitar. A good guitar. The neck feels really nice. The thing about that particular Stealth was that the neck at the nut was too small for my hands, just by a little bit. And there was the same issue with my Music Man. And I don't know if this is a Van Halen thing. Maybe Eddie likes to have the neck here a little bit like smaller, but it was after a while it kind of bothered me a little bit. But overall, the guitar was a really nice guitar. Hey Tony, I just got a new Ibanez AZ Prestige HH, and they are awesome. Very comparable to the new Charvels. That's exactly what I was saying, except the Ibanez's are a lot more expensive, I think, by at least $300, probably more expensive. But yeah, they're nice looking guitars. I tried one in a music store, and it's a nice guitar, man. I just wish they were less expensive. You need a lot of patience and time to set up a Floyd. The ones to avoid are the cheap specials. They are not well made. That's true. All the Floyds that are kind of knockoff OEM, designed by Floyds, use very cheap metal. And the knife edges that pivot on the posts for the bridge often are not very hard, and they wear out, and then they start not returning back to pitch. If you get the ones that are made in Germany, those are made really well. They're also very expensive. Many times, sometimes they're more expensive than the guitar that you're thinking about putting them on. So if you don't have 350 bucks to spare on a bridge, yeah, you're going to be stuck there. I pulled the trigger on that Viper 300M this afternoon. Hey, congratulations. Can't wait to see it, man. Let us know how you like it once you get it. I'm not an active pickup kind of guy. Hey, Michael, have a good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. You love my T-shirt, Jonathan. Well, thank you. This is just a regular Hurley T-shirt, man. Appreciate it. Because it reminds me of Elizabeth Hurley. That's funny. Yeah, she's very good looking. She's a very good looking woman. Not as sexy as Angela Bellucci, but I'm a little bit prejudiced because I'm Italian, and Angela's sorry, not Angela. What am I saying? Monica Bellucci. Monica was a very let's just say very beautiful woman. She's aged very well too, but yeah, ooh la la. What is that guitar you have in your stand with the angled headstock? It's a Jackson. Exactly. Rico, you got good eyes, man. That's a Jackson. Yeah, it's a red Jackson. I've done a review on that one as well if you want to check my previous videos. A great budget guitar, like super cheap. I think I got that for like 100 and like under 200 bucks. And I just modified it to my liking. Bruce says, if you are in Montreal, how come the show isn't in French? So for those of you who don't know, Montreal is bilingual. All of Quebec is actually bilingual. So everything has to be kind of in French or in English. I guess I can do the French thing. On peut parler un peu en français si vous voulez, Bruce, sauf que ça va être un peu plus long. Au lieu de faire une show de 2 heures, ça va être 4 heures. So what I said was I can do the video in both English and French if you like, but it's going to be a lot longer. It's going to be, the show's going to be 4 hours instead of 2 hours if I have to translate everything. Jonathan says he loves Italian women. Yes, yes. Mamma mia. They are very beautiful creatures. Padded Pedal Room's in the house. Hey, how's it going, man? Thank you for joining us. You're catching us on the tail end, but it's all good. Strat 5150 says omelette de fromage. Fromage. Cheese omelet. For those of you who don't speak French. So what else, guys? What else is in the works for you? Are you guys going to be saving your money or spending your money? I did a review on the looper pedal. Sorry, I'm sweating. It's just so darn humid here right now. I did a review on the JTC looper pedal. That was the last video I did. And it's a lot of fun. I don't know how many of you guys have looper pedals out there, but looper pedals to me are like, they're like, it's like a toy because it really just encourages you to play and you experiment with a whole bunch of different rhythms and you know, that particular one has the drums built in, so it helps you keep rhythm. Instead of just playing with a metronome, you could actually play with some drums. And you know, if you're sloppy like I am and you oftentimes punch in at the wrong time, that couple of second delay, you know, punching in gives the feel of the rhythm a completely different um, alternate kind of like overall feel to it. So all of a sudden, you know, you're playing something quite like straight and boring, and then you punch in over a rhythm that's a little bit more complicated at the wrong time, and it shifts the feel of the entire thing. And oftentimes that opens up some really great ideas. I know most of the ideas that are really good come as an accident, right? So that's why I really like playing with looper pedals. I think everybody should have one. I started off with like the Ditto loopers from TC Electronic. Those are pretty good too. Simple, you know, straightforward, one button. The only thing is that sometimes there's a disadvantage to loopers that are a little bit too simple, and there's a disadvantage to loopers that are overly complicated. And I like to get something that's kind of in the middle, because the ones that are really simple often don't have the ability to save patches, and one click has to do a lot of different things, and depending on how you're clicking it, you might forget, and it's not always obvious. It has one LED or something, so you have to constantly pay attention to what you've, or remember what you've done, so that you don't mess up. Whereas the ones that are really complicated sometimes are just more overly so, because they have too many features, and then it becomes too complex to use and whatever. The JTC that I have from NUX I feel is a good compromise. It's a little bit big, and I tend to stay away from bigger pedals these days, because I want to squeeze more on my pedal board, and I don't want to have such a big pedal board, so I try and get pedals that are a little bit smaller. But it works well, and it has a good sound, and it has a long, I think you could put 6 hours of loops on it, and the drums are a nice feature to have. And because it has two switches, you don't have to worry about like using one switch for everything. You can actually turn, you know, tap the tempo on one switch. You can kick in the drums with the other. You can adjust the actual tempo of the loop and all that kind of stuff. So it works really, really well. It's not the cheapest one that I've tried, but I think it's built well, and I'm really enjoying it. There's other less expensive alternatives, and actually NUX does have this is the studio version one, which is fully packed with features. They also have a slimmed down version, which is a little bit smaller, and it doesn't have as many features, less expensive, but also works well. So if you guys are interested, you should definitely check that one out. Padded Pelleroom says, on peut parler en français. Ben oui, on peut faire ça. N'importe quand. Landon Bailey says, I'm working on a Gilmour inspired Strat build. I'll have a video on my channel in the future. I have a Strat that I kind of converted to a Gilmour inspired Strat as well. It was a Blackie Strat that I actually put on a black pickguard onto with the white pickup covers, and it looks identical to a Gilmour Strat. I don't have it here. I'd show it to you, but I got one. It's in its case right now. One day I'll take it out and show you guys. Bruce's wife says, I can't buy anything else till I sell some stuff, so I immediately put her up on eBay. How much did you get for her? Oh, that's funny. I have a red custom-made Gilmour made to my own specs with the EMG Gilmour pickguard, bird's eye maple neck, all Fender parts. Nice. Sounds nice. Take it easy, Bailey, Landon. Have a good rest of the day, my friend. Thank you for tuning in. I think Phil McKnight did a review on the Ibanez AZ. I think he did. I saw a review from him a while ago. I think he talked about it. And he's also somebody that is not necessarily that crazy about Floyd Rose on his guitar. He had a video where he also discussed that as well. So I guess we have a couple of things in common. So guys, I've been online for 2 hours. I think we're gonna wrap it up because I'm dehydrating here. I'm actually sweating with all this humidity and these lights. So I'm gonna cut it off about here. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in. Like I always say, if you're interested in grabbing some swag, take advantage of the 15% discount. Use the discount code ATG for Addicted to Gear 31 for episode 31, and you get a 15% discount on shirts or mugs or whatever you want to help the show out with. I totally appreciate your help by supporting the channel. And obviously the best support you can give me is a thumbs up and obviously a subscription if you haven't already subscribed to the channel. Spread the word, because definitely we want to grow the community, and I think we have a good group of people that tune in regularly, and I look forward to talking with all of you guys on a regular basis. I also want to say that coming up you will probably see some videos on my channel where I will have some other guests as well, including maybe Jonathan if he's willing to come on for another show eventually. But there will be some other guests on my show, and that'll definitely be something interesting that you should tune in for. And of course, the pedal reviews and the gear reviews, amps and everything else that are common on my channel every other day. So stay tuned for all of those as well. And if you're Jonathan is saying, what? Sorry, I didn't see your comment there, Jonathan. What are you planning to do on this Sunday, Tony? Well, the Sunday, obviously the morning is booked up with this show. And after playing a little bit, I actually want to get ready for my jam session this evening, because I have a jam happening with the band. So I don't know if you're like me, Jonathan, but I like to prepare just by getting things in order, figuring out which kind of gear I'm going to be bringing to the event. Today I'm bringing the Tokai Black Beauty that I showed earlier on. I think you weren't in on that when I showed it before, so I'll just show it to you very quickly before we wrap it up here. I'm taking this one because I haven't played this one in a long time. This is a Tokai Black Beauty made in Japan. Really love this guitar. A little heavier, but it's going to be a nice guitar for this evening. So I'm going to take this guy with me, and I'm heading out this evening, and I figured I'd go digital, and I'm going to be using the Ampero and leaving the amp at home, because it also is threatening to rain. So I don't necessarily want to bring my amplifier out in the rain. So I'll bring my Ampero with me, and I'm going to be probably tweaking some of the sounds before I go to the jam this afternoon. So my afternoon is kind of booked with that. I also wanted to take a drive, possibly just take a drive out into the country with my kids, and just spend part of the day with them as well, because it's always nice to do that on a Sunday and before it starts to rain. So that's my plans. So thank you once again for tuning in, everybody. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks. I give you guys a thumbs up if I could, but definitely like the fact that you guys are tuning in, and we have a great conversation going. So guys, stay tuned, because on Sunday, next Sunday, we'll have another show as well, and there'll be more videos coming this week that I have prepared for you guys as well. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, guys, stay safe. Remember, wear your masks, take care of each other. We got to get over this whole COVID situation as soon as we can, so we can get back to normal. Start giving hugs again, you know. So that's it for now, guys. Really appreciate you tuning in. Thanks again. Stay tuned, stay safe, and catch you on the next episode of Addicted to Gear, guys. That's it. Enjoy your day.